Welcome back. Erie County is celebrating 200 years of the Erie Canal at Canalside this weekend, and I'm joined now by Buffalo historian Lindsay Visser with details on how you can get in on the fun. Welcome, Lindsay. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Chelsea. I'm so excited to be here.
We're super excited. We just ran that CBS package, which is awesome to know that this important part of history that started right here in Western New York is getting national news. But I want to talk specifically about the impact of the Erie Canal here at Canalside and, in Buffalo in general, and how it became such a historic waterway.
It's almost impossible to overstate how important the Erie Canal is. It really is that one civil engineering project that changes the trajectory of New York State. So before the canal opened and before Buffalo was even selected as its terminus, Buffalo was a really small community. It was kind of an outpost. And so with the selection of Buffalo as the terminus, and the trajectory that came from all of the people who were moving along the canal, all of the goods that could be transported, and really all of the opportunities the canal created, Buffalo boomed. And so in a very short time period, from 1825 to about 1900, 75 years, we go from being not even a city to the 8th largest city in the United States. So it really is, I think, one of those pieces of our history that's so important to have those conversations about, because not only is it a wonderful piece of New York State history to talk about because there's so much to it, it also is so connected to other things like women's suffrage, abolition, the Underground Railroad, even some religions that formed along the canal's banks. So it really is just this big story that involves so many different people, and having an opportunity to have a conversation about it, especially for its 200th, is just fabulous.
That's right. And speaking of celebrating, let's talk about what Canalside is doing for this major milestone.
We are having a community day where people can come down, they can learn a little bit more about the canal, but they can also have some fun too. So we will have a 200th birthday party for Sal the Mule. If you remember from 4th grade, if you went to school in New York State, I think everybody remembers the song. Sal is turning 200 with the canal, so we're going to have a birthday party for him. We'll have cupcakes thanks to Visit Buffalo Niagara. The Buffalo Zoo will be there with a mobile zoo, including a draft horse, which is actually one of the animals that was used in addition to mules on the Erie Canal. You can actually learn why they fell out of favor and fell out of use. And we will be unveiling 4 new historic markers that will be permanent installations talking about different aspects of transportation history at Canalside.
Really cool stuff. And by the way, in that CBS package, if you were just watching, you saw the vessel that they're going on. That was made right here in Buffalo.
It was. In fact, the building where the exhibit is right now is where they were constructing the Seneca Chief. And that's a really important ship because that was the voyage that they made for the Wedding of the Waters 200 years ago. When Governor DeWitt Clinton did the Wedding of the Waters on October 26, 1825, it was on a boat just like that. And so the fact that we were able to make that here in Buffalo, sail that across New York State. On one end of the state this weekend, they'll be arriving in New York City and they will be finishing their month-long journey. But 200 years ago, it actually started this weekend and then took a month, and they finished the program in November. So I think they're a lot smarter this time, starting earlier so that they did not have to deal with the October and November temperatures.
Correct. That's very smart. Tell us about some key players when it comes to the story of the Erie Canal and its forming, and who were the names that we should know?
Well, in terms of the initial history, there's a number. Obviously, Governor DeWitt Clinton is one of the people who I think everybody thinks of when we think of the canal. They called it Clinton's Ditch because they just didn't believe that it was possible. But in the local level, the people who were instrumental in excavating Buffalo Harbor that allowed for it to become the terminus, huge story there. I think when you talk about all of the people that came to Buffalo because of the opportunities and the businesses that were created here, I mean, people are kind of familiar that Wells Fargo and American Express were formed here, but they were actually formed almost immediately adjacent to the commercial slip because that's where a lot of the commercial activity, the businesses were located. So when we think about the development of our city and even the development of our country, so much of it was happening right here because of the canal and the opportunities that the canal created.
Why is it so important for the county, Canalside, and the city of Buffalo to really honor this bicentennial and this voyage?
I think it's always a good opportunity to reflect on our history whenever we have these major milestones. And I think one of the things that's really come out of this bicentennial is the fact that we've really looked at the story holistically, and we've looked not just at the engineering marvel and all of the wonderful things that have come by way of the canal, but also some of the harder conversations to have about what communities were possibly hurt by the construction of the canal and how it wasn't necessarily a good thing for everybody. But I think it allows us to have those conversations and look at how our interpretation of history also changes over time, and how we as historians are trying to do the best that we can in finding the facts and honoring the past. And so the 200th is a really focused opportunity to have that conversation, but I think even beyond this year, you're never going to be done talking about the Erie Canal. It's just too important, it's too big, and it's too much part of our story in New York State. So I would anticipate it will continue well beyond 2025, but we will be shifting our focus because 2026 is also a big historic milestone for New York State in a different way.
What's that?
That is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
So we roll one to one to one. So it's a busy time for history. So
is.
lots of fun things on the horizon.
Alrighty, Lindsay, thank you so much for coming in, giving us some backstory about this major milestone. Viewers, this bicentennial celebration is happening tomorrow at Canalside. You can learn more about it by connecting with the Erie County Historical Commission on Facebook and finding the events page. Thanks again for coming in, Lindsay.
Thank you, Chelsea.